Hello, Devoted Geeks, and welcome to Comm Talk, podcast extension of Geek Devotions, a show from Devoted Geeks who are devoted to letting you know that you are loved. I'm Dallas. I'm so glad you guys can hit the play button. Whether you're listening to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. Hey, thanks for allowing us to be wherever you're at today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited today about today's show because today is another one of our garden files. If you're new to Comm Talk, we unfortunately lost like the first 13 episodes of our show. It was really tragic to us. But thanks to our great friend, John Haryu, we were able to recover them. So we've been putting them out periodically. And today, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those original audios that we had dating back to July 30th of 2017, where Celeste and I got to do an interview with our good friend, Tim Taylor, who is an old friend of Celeste's from back in the day, who is an author. And so hope you guys enjoy this conversation and know that we love you, care about you. And we also want to encourage you guys, make sure you guys subscribe to this podcast because in the coming weeks, we're going to have a couple cool episodes coming out as we begin our Christmas theme. We're calling it Mythical Mayhem. I think that's what we're calling it. We're workshopping the name, but it's whatever. But that's going to be our theme for Christmas time frame. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into today's conversation.
Garden files lost. Now activating John Haryu protocol. Garden files found. Initiating lost files.
Hello, Devoted Geeks, and welcome to episode 11 of Comm Talk, the podcast extension of Geek Devotions, a YouTube show from a couple of devoted geeks that are devoted to letting people know that they're loved. I am Dallas, and with me, as always, is a beautiful and wonderful and talented
Celeste!
There we go. And on today's episode, we are interviewing Timothy A. Taylor, author of the fantasy novel series The Last Singer. This was an interview previously recorded for our YouTube show, but we decided that all of our devoted geeks who listen to our podcast needed to hear it too.
Before we do that, though, we want to do a few things.
Yeah, we decided to switch things up and have a little bit of fun. One of those things is we want to read some of the reviews that people have left on our iTunes. If you check us out on iTunes, leave us a review. And we'd love to read it, and also your interesting names.
Yes, because the name of this comment that we are about to read, the person who commented this comment, is The Whispering Loon. And I have to say, I appreciate your name because that's really funny to me. The Whispering Loon says, awesome podcast by awesome people. This is a great podcast spinoff of a great YouTube channel. Celeste and Dallas have a great chemistry and have interesting insight into matters that are spiritual, geeky, and spiritually geeky.
Cool beans. Well, we appreciate you, Whispering Loon. And hey, guys, if you'd like to have us read your comments on our stuff, just leave a comment on our iTunes. And then about once a week or so, we'll look at it. And if there's new ones, we'll read them off. If there's a flood of them all of a sudden, we'll just read a couple of them.
Space them out.
Yeah, just so we can continue doing this on a regular basis. But hey, we really appreciate your guys' reviews. That really does help us in the long run. And also, it helps if you guys share out this podcast with your friends. That being said, another thing that we need to talk about real quick before we get into everything is that Celeste and I, we're starting a You Caring campaign. It's kind of like Kickstarter and all that, except for some of the rules they're just better for what we're doing. But we're trying to raise some funds to take Geek Devotions to level 2. We're starting season 2 of Geek Devotions next week.
Woo-hoo!
And we're super excited about it. I'm working on some new graphics and some things to kind of spruce things up, make it look a little different. Since it is a second season,
Yes.
But that said, there's some equipment.
We have gone longer than Firefly.
Right? That said, we just need to upgrade our equipment. There's some things that we need that in order to make this better and to make stuff that we believe people need to hear. But because of the way the culture is, if you're not putting out quality, it's not well received. And so we want to bring our quality up a level so we can continue ministering to people in a wide variety of ways. So, and there's going to be some, what's the word I'm looking for?
Incentives.
Yeah.
Rewards.
Yeah, rewards. Like if you donate so much, then you'll get a prize of some sort or, something like that. You'd be on a Google Hangout with us. You might be on an episode of Comm Talk with us. Or maybe on Geek Devotions. I don't know. So
You never know.
So we're working it out. We're working out the details. We're going to be announcing that officially with all the details here in a couple of weeks. So be ready for all of that because we're super excited about it.
Now that all of that has been said, let's get into the meat of this podcast. As you listen to this podcast, please interact with us. Send us your thoughts on what we're saying via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or leave a comment on iTunes. You can find us simply by looking up Geek Devotions. If you're watching this on YouTube, then leave comments down below and interact with us on our Facebook and Instagram. And perhaps you can be our next devoted Geek of the Week.
Absolutely. So, guys, our interview with Timothy A. Taylor. Here you go. Hey guys, welcome to Geek Devotional, show from a couple devoted geeks, devoted to let people know that they're loved. I'm Dallas, and this is
Les.
And we're so glad you hit the play button. Welcome to Extra Tuesday.
Again.
And again, we had some technical difficulties earlier today, and we're doing this. But we are interviewing Timothy Taylor, who is an author and he's written some really interesting books that, let me tell you something, has sent Celeste into next level. She's been like mad geeking out over these books. And so we brought Timothy on, and Timothy, say hi to the beautiful people at home, man.
Hello, beautiful people. Thanks so much for having me on.
Cool.
Yay.
So Celeste, why don't you tell our friends watching us who Tim is, and do you mind me calling you Tim, or do you prefer Timothy?
You can call me Bob. No, Tim is fine.
I know you as Tim, so that's what I automatically call you.
Yes.
Unless I'm saying your last name because you're not a tool man.
No, Tim is fine.
Cool beans.
Okay, so Tim has started writing a book series called The Last Singer. The first book was called The Singer. The book that just came out this year is called Light and Shadows, and it's set in, and correct me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Aram?
Ariam.
Yeah, totally messed that one up. I can spell it for you. And it is a very, very interesting world to me. The fact that in the book, the world was created with song is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, character came in and sang the world into being. Like, short of being a lion, which has already been done, that's pretty sweet.
I'm glad you approve. Thank you.
Good.
She just put you on C.S. Lewis status. I'm just going to point that out.
You know,
that's what she just did.
That's no pressure at all for the next book in the series.
It's not meant to be. It's a compliment.
I appreciate it. Now I'm going to go cry.
Sorry. Okay. So, seeing as you have created this amazing world that's kind of steampunkish, and I really like that, what was your inspiration for this brainchild?
Yeah, so when we were going to school, I was actually working on another book. It was a kid's book that involved time travel, because I love the past. And that book kind of didn't really go anywhere. I got 10 chapters in and just really didn't know where to take the story. But I really kind of loved the idea of putting something in this other time period. And there were some kind of steampunky vibes in that one. And I was really discovering that as kind of a universe and a world building genre that I really loved. But then I also wanted to kind of explore, what would happen in this fantasy world if the things that we do, like singing or, art or speaking or dancing, what if those could literally affect the world around us? So that's kind of where all of that came from.
That is awesome. So I appreciate the descriptions in the book that you use, because you're very good with words, and the way, imagine that, an author good with words, the way you describe things, I can picture it. So I've lived in this world, which I know a lot of people who read a lot say, but there's some books where you're like, okay, I am sitting in my living room while I'm reading this book. And then there's other books where it's like you're in the world. And so you very much in this book series feel like you're in the world.
That is like the best compliment anybody could pay me. So thank you.
You're welcome. I promise I'm not trying. I'm just saying things. So what was the writing process? I know you said you spun it off of the kids series that I knew you were writing at the time. I always wondered what happened with that, so I'm glad to know. What was the writing process for the first book and the second book? Like, and how did they differ?
So for the singer, I had this idea that kind of spun off of that kids book that I did, where I kind of took some of the characters and reimagined them in this world, and I kind of just started writing it. And I was actually working on another book, and I just kept kind of turning back to the singer. Like, that was the one that had captured my imagination, captured my attention. And that process, it took about 3 years of just kind of, fiddling with it and, building the world and establishing concepts. And then a couple of years ago, I was part of a group of creative people we were all working on a project, and we had a 6-month deadline. So I chose the singer as my project. Like, I was going to finish it in 6 months, which I finished it in 7. And that was my project for that. So that one, it was great because, like, I had all this work done, and I wrote this series and I knew where it was going. And then when I started to write the second book, I was like, wow, there's another story that I feel like I need to tell before I get into this second book, which is actually, so there's in the singer, there's a female protagonist, and the male person that she's kind of interested in, he becomes the main protagonist in the next book, but I couldn't have him telling this part of the story. So that's when I decided to kind of detour and write this little novella, which that process was a little bit more difficult. And there was a different, a different point of view. It was a different character, and I actually wrote it, and then I ended up having to kind of rework the story a bit. So that one, I wrote it in a couple of months, but then I kind of sat on it for about a year, and then I reworked it before it was published.
Sounds good. Now, you mentioned the seer, okay, so I was going to move on to the next question, but I'm going to wait on the next question because I really want to say this. I had said in the first time we did this that I appreciated the differences between the two protagonists in Light and Shadows, and then as well in the singer. And that still holds, obviously, because, I haven't changed that much in the last few minutes. But it's interesting to me to see the differences, because in the singer, Saphira is a very light character. I mean, she has her problems, she deals with her things, but she's very much the character that everybody loves to love. She's the one that's like, oh, she's so cute, I just want to put her in my pocket. And whereas Katya is the tragic character to me. She's the one that, you're like, oh my God. At first you hate her, and then you're like, oh, I am a horrible person for hating you. So, okay.
Well,
now that
I really love that. No, I'm sorry. I really love that. Like, I feel like it's like when I hate a character in something, like, and somebody can make me do that, like make me have that kind of response. I love that. And it's ironic because Ketia was initially just kind of a throwaway character. Like, she was never really supposed to come back. And then, as I was like finishing the novel, I was like, I'm not done with this character. And then she's kind of spun off and really kind of taken on a really cool life of her own, which I think that's the best characters are that way. So
the ones that think for themselves.
The ones that think, what does that say about me though, as a writer? Like,
we won't get into that.
Okay.
We'll have Dallas's sister analyze you later.
Okay, cool.
She's a counselor, by the way.
She's a counselor.
We're all fine in here.
She's actually watching live right now. So
okay,
she's making sure
she's
our audio is okay.
Right now.
Probably, because that's what she does.
You'll get a bill in the mail later. So I will say this about the characters that are the side characters that have become popular. Over the last several years, we've seen several characters come out in the mainstream media that were started off as just throwaway characters. One of the most recent popular ones is Harley Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
She was supposed to be a throwaway character or one-off in a cartoon series, and she's kind of blown up to this phenomenon. So I'm
fantastic.
I was thinking of Coulson.
Yeah, Coulson's the same way.
He was supposed to die, and the fans say no.
Yeah. So you never know who you're creating, man. It might just connect with somebody.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so my next question is, when can we expect the seer to come out? Because I'm uber excited about this.
So that is again like the question I get asked the most, and it's funny, you know, because you don't think about sometimes like how quickly, you know, stories are read and people want to know what happens, and so right now I'm working on creating. I'm about halfway through the writing process for this year, so I'm probably going to have that done in the next couple of months, a rough draft, and then from there it goes to my editors and to my test readers, so I can get feedback and make sure that everything makes sense. And so we're probably looking at late spring, summer of next year is when the book is actually going to be out. So I'm sorry, like this is giving me new perspective, because I do that. I read a book, I'm like, where's the next one? And I'm like, okay, this person needs, you know, it's hard. It takes time to write it. So,
but at the same time, I wouldn't want you to rush it,
right?
Because just to give me something, I would want something. Because I don't normally talk to my authors, so this is weird. But I would want something that matches. And if that takes until next spring or summer, then it takes until next spring or summer, and I will love it when it comes out.
Right.
Well, and I also find that I kind of write like I read too, because I tend to write quickly as well. And sometimes the characters don't cooperate. Sometimes they're like, we're sitting here, we're not moving, you know? And so I have to put it down and I have to walk away for a little bit, because I wanted to be done with this like a year and a half ago. So, but you know, except for the kids, they won't cooperate. So,
right. Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that. And side note, my sister Tamara's in the chat. She says hi to you, but
hi, Tamara.
But what is the writing process for you? Like you just said, like, you know, you're trying to go through this. You want it done, but you're hitting these roadblocks. What do you do to get past those roadblocks when you're just like, I got to move past and get through this character?
Yeah, so I do a couple of things. So yes, I do write when the muse strikes. So there are moments when I am just really feeling a flow on something and on kind of where a story is going, and I can just crank out, you know, just chapters and chapters and chapters. One time I wrote like 10,000 words in a day, and my fingers hurt, but it was, you know, I just cranked the story out.
Right.
And then other times I do find that like I'll back the characters into a corner, and I'm not quite sure how to get them out of this situation or this, you know, and if it's something that's not like pivotal to the movement of the story, like if everybody's sitting around having dinner and having an argument and it's not going to move the plot forward, I just put literally in parentheses, finish this, and I move on to the next scene. So, and sometimes that comes back to bite me because I go a direction that doesn't work, you know, so,
right.
And then other times, you know, like I you know, being a writer who's also, you know, a Christian, I pray, you know, through my writing process, because, you know, these books are not just about me and what I want to say. Like I really do, you know, like my faith and my beliefs just really fuels it. And so, there are sometimes I find that, you know, there are things that I need to work. There are things that I need to process, like spiritually, that I need to pray through, you know, before I can necessarily write the character going through this journey. So, even though sometimes I feel that like maybe it's not flowing the way that I want it to, there's almost always a reason. Like we got shadows and lights out of that process was because there was something else I needed to do and work through. And then I was like, oh, there's a whole other story here. So, yeah.
Very cool. It's interesting to say that because, like, I know that Celeste and I, when we create Geek Devotions, we go through the same, like, sometimes it's just like the Geek Devotions is what we've just been processing all week long.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get through something. And I feel like that's something that cross-pollinates within every creative art style, whether it's you're drawing, you're painting, you're doing videos, or you're writing a book. There is that process. And I think that's what makes good stories is when the author has struggled with it and they've had to work through the process, there's more of a passion and reality that's put into the characters that they're writing out.
Right. Well, and if you look at it in music, especially since the book is about music,
right?
It's, you know, some of the most beautiful songs, even songs that are not about godly things. Some of the most beautiful songs are songs that someone had to go through something to create. Yeah. You know, they had to work for it. I was having a discussion with someone. They're talking about how we dislike adulting because we don't want. Well, there's other things we could do rather than work and pay our bills. But it's one of those things of if you didn't work and pay your bills and you could do whatever you wanted all the time, then it wouldn't mean as much when you got to do what you really wanted to do. So it's a similar process, and I'm not entirely sure how my brain went to there, but here we go.
Do you have a music background since the stories revolving around music?
Somewhat. So I did, I studied worship music in college, and I sing, but I don't really play anything. So if you look really closely, there's never a lot of detail about what the characters are playing or how they're playing the instrument. It's just like, so-and-so picked up the guitar, and so, but singing I do understand. Right. So I think that's probably why the main character was a singer. So.
Very cool. Very cool.
Okay. Now, what other ministry things are you involved in? So I know that you said before you're involved in a lot of things, but what are some of those things?
Yeah. So, personally, from a ministry standpoint, I really feel like my ministry is through the arts. So I do that in a few ways. So in addition to writing books, I'm also a playwright. So I have, a couple of plays that I've written. One of them was produced, last year, got really good reviews, and is actually being produced again, in November. So I extend that invitation again if you guys want to come to Indiana, but it's really cold up here in November. And then I also do arts ministry at my church. So we have, an arts community of just creative types, all types of creatives, from people who are writers to artists to this fantastic woman who does crochet. And so whatever you do, like, we want you to be a part of our group, and we just encourage other creatives and other artists. And then of course I have, I direct, and I do theater art stuff, and I do puppetry, and just there's a lot of different pies that I have these fingers in.
I was actually just right before you called me to tell me you would be able to redo this tonight, telling Dallas about your Downton Abbey paper dolls. Is that what you call those?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love those. and his mom was very, very, very excited to see them. She thought they were adorable. So we may at some point get some of those from you. But
yeah, and that was kind of one of those weird things. Like, it was just something I did for a friend, and then all of a sudden it was like took on this like life of its own. And I was like, okay, I'll make paper dolls. Why not?
Why not? It's fun. Right. Okay. Well, and my last question for you is, where can people find you to check out your stuff?
So if you go to my website, it's www.timothyaTaylor.com. You must put the A in there. And that's got information about my books, information about my plays. It will have information soon about my art. And also has links to my Facebook, Twitter, and even links to my Pinterest account, which has also some artwork and some pictures of things that inspire me and things that I feel resemble the world of REM that I'm writing about.
Okay, sounds good. Did you have anything else?
No, those of you guys who are watching this right now, or you're watching the rebroadcast later, we will have all these links down in our description below. We can separate his Instagram and Twitter so you guys can go to it directly. But we want to encourage you guys to do us a favor, though. Support Timothy with the way he's doing here, all right? Support Christian authors, support ones that are doing it well, because that is key. We here at Geek Devotions believe in doing quality stuff. We believe in putting stuff out that's, again, it's life-changing but quality, and helping people to do more of what they love and are passionate about. And it's very clear from this interview that, Timothy, you are very passionate about what you're doing here, man, and we're excited about that and excited to have you on our show here with us today.
Well, thank you so much for just, for giving geeks like me an outlet. You guys are awesome. This is an awesome opportunity. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hey, real quick, because I know right now you're in your church's fellowship hall, community center thingamabobber. They called it what do we call it? A sanctuary thing?
The wall looks very sanctuary-ish.
Yeah, it looks sanctuary-esque. So, but what is the name of your church, man, and where can they find it?
Yeah,
it's out there in your area.
Sure. It's Indy Vineyard. So it's a vineyard church. And if you go to indyvineyard.com, so that's INDYVINEYARD.com.
You never had to say that out loud, did you?
I had to stop and think about that one. I don't know. I may have missed a letter there.
So very cool. All right, sweet, man. Well, we appreciate you so much. And again, those of you who are watching this on the broadcast, do us a favor and check out his stuff. And also, obviously, check out our stuff on social media at Geek Devotions. And if you've enjoyed this content and you'd like to see more of it, hit the subscribe button.
All right, and we're back. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Timothy. We enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun talking with him.
We did, even with all the hiccups.
All the hiccups that we had going into it. And afterwards, we had after the broadcast on YouTube, we actually had some time with him afterwards to talk about some stuff. And I could honestly say that Timothy's a really cool and very interesting guy. I know Celeste has a lot of personal history with him, and we couldn't recommend his stuff more. So please check all of his stuff out. So I think that's all, though. But a little bit of wrap-up stuff. We have to do something special.
I think it's time for our Devoted Geek of the Week.
Our wonderful Devoted Geek of the Week.
We would like to congratulate our Devoted Geek of the Week, Dale White.
Dale!
Dale was our Devoted Geek of the Week previously, but we were never able to get a hold of him so that we could honor him properly. Therefore, we're doing it again. If you'd like to be our Devoted Geek of the Week, all you have to do is interact and talk to us. Hang out. I have to say this about Dale. He has been there for almost every episode, and even the ones he's missed, he goes back and comments.
Yeah, of the Geek Devotions.
Of the Geek Devotions. Now, I don't know if he listens to our podcast, but he is there. He actually, it was interesting. He was gone for a few weeks, and we were like, man, Dale hasn't commented. And, we just kind of thought maybe he'd stopped watching.
Because that happens.
It does. And he commented on something. We're like, hey, where have you been? Apparently he had some personal things come up. He just wasn't able to watch YouTube for a while. So,
But we have other people who comments regularly. We really appreciate, like Jonathan, who he's been part of our stuff for a while, and he was actually the first Devoted Geek of the Week, actually, and he regularly sends me messages on Facebook going, hey, what about this, what about that? So we really appreciate y'all's interaction, and please interact with us and talk with us and help us, to see things in a bigger spotlight. So thanks so much for taking time to listen to Comm Talk today. If you love this episode, head over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and leave a review. You never know. We might actually say it here on air. All that said, it's always just appreciated, any feedback you guys give us. But until next Sunday, you beautiful and amazing Devoted Geeks.
Stay devoted.
Peace and love, guys.